Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to be sharing my experience with Logitech's Pro Series racing setup. This includes the direct drive 11 Newton meters base, the Pro pedals, but we're also going to be upgrading this entire setup with some of the new accessories from Logitech's R Series, which includes the hub, the track wheel, and the 2-in-1 sequential gear shifter and handbrake. And we're going to be tying everything together with Logitech's playset. While we won't be paying for a track day fee or buying a spare set of tires, this is still a costly and premium setup, and even though we won't be able to replicate the G-forces you get during real racing, for the amount that this setup costs, I want to see just how close we can get and take a look at what exactly this premium setup offers, starting with the Pro Series base and Pro pedals, and then moving on to the hub, the track wheel, and the 2-in-1 shifter handbrake out of the R Series, followed by of course the playset. Okay, starting with the heart of the entire setup is the Pro DD11 series base for PC, coming in at $599. That DD11 stands for direct drive motor and is rated for up to 11 Newton meters of torque, which is by far their biggest selling point here. Since there's no way to replicate the G-forces you would experience in real life racing with an at-home setup, one of the main ways to get feedback of important factors like traction, weight transfer, steering, and even real-world terrain is through the force feedback in the wheel. And while many modern cars now have things like power steering to reduce the amount of power required to move the steering wheel, if you've ever been to your local go-kart track, then you probably know that racing can require a good amount of strength to turn the steering wheel. When I was starting out, I had the limit set to around 5 Newton meters, and while this was fine, after bringing it up to 11 and turning the true force feedback to high, I felt a night and day difference. For context, the true force audio feedback the Logitech mentions essentially allows the motor to deliver higher frequency vibrations in order to attempt to replicate more granular details like engine noise. While I wouldn't call it a game changer by any means at all, I think in moderation this is a nice touch to try and get as much feedback as possible, but when cranking it up high, the vibrations can be a bit overwhelming, so I opted to tone it way down. As for the regular force feedback with the 11 Newton meters, it was great feeling those strong spikes when hitting bumps in Dirt 2.0. As for the additional features here, I found it fairly easy to navigate through the settings through the small LCD display and knobs on the hub. They also added a feature here where it shows you how much you're turning on that display, but with the display being so small, it was a bit hard to keep track of. The overall construction quality here is pretty good, although it is on the bulkier side than some of the other options on the market, but that might be because it has a built-in cooling system. As for the setup, the choice of ports and cables are a bit dated and the power supply is pretty big. Moving on to the Pro pedals, these come in at $349, and it seems like the biggest difference here between these Pro pedals and previous models is going to be the load cells as well as the adjustability of the pedals. Unlike entry-level pedals, which use potentiometers to measure the distance the pedal travels, load cell pedals measure the force being used to give a more consistent and accurate racing performance. And to adjust the stiffness, you can swap out the springs to make the clutch and gas feel firm or softer. Both the gas and brake pedals here use contactless Hall effect sensors, which are going to be great for durability purpose. And for adjustability, you can move each pedal around to try and replicate that race configuration you want to go for. The overall finishes and quality here felt robust and pretty much on par with what I would expect out of load cell pedals. Now, moving on to the newer accessories that we're going to be updating the setup with, coming from Logitech's R Series, we're going to start off with the hub and wheel. For a while now, Logitech's ecosystem has been pretty limited compared to the competition, and finally they've brought some more options for wheels. The RS wheel hub comes in between $129 and $149 depending on whether it's for PC or Xbox and PC. This hub comes with adjustable gear shifters, offers a customizable RGB strip up top that can act as a rev bar, and overall has a nice quality feel to it. With the hub, you can switch between the track wheel, which is what I have here, as well as the round wheel, but it can also get quite pricey when stacking up those costs. On the other hand, you could also opt for their RS quick release adapter, which is a more affordable $69 and lets you use a 2.75 inch and 2-inch PCD aftermarket steering wheels. But if you end up going with the hub, then you'll also be getting these adjustable magnetic gear shift paddles. Moving on to the wheel, the track wheel here comes in at $69.99, features a dimple dot pattern for better ventilation and grip, and overall has some decent construction quality, and the only downside is that it might feel small for some with a height of 7.28 inches and a length of 11.46 inches. As for the 2-in-1 shifter and handbrake combo, this comes in at $149 and can act as either a sequential shifter or handbrake. The versatility here is great, but it does mean you're limited to sequential shifting and not an H-shaped shifter. With this certain setup, I opted to use the hub's paddle shifter and use this as a handbrake. Another pro here is that it's quite adjustable. In addition to physically adjusting it, the G-Hub software tuning can adjust the sequential shifter's actuation point and the handbrake's responsive curve to your preference in the Logitech G-Hub software. This is probably a good time to mention that the G-Hub software can also tune other things. Now, to bring everything together, I used the playset Challenge X, which comes in at $299 and is Logitech's lightweight, quick to set up racing seat. It was fairly easy to set up and helped bring everything together, although the mounting point for the shifter was a bit weaker than I would have liked for the force needed to engage it, but the base seemed to hold up pretty well even when wrangling it while set to 11 Newton meters. I do wish the seat material was made out of something slightly more comfortable and sturdy. The straps that hold the fabric in place are okay, but definitely not as sturdy as I would have liked. Well, that's our review. If you made it to the end, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.